I want to say thank you to the elders for the privilege of standing before you this morning, and also to say a special thank you to Brother Victor. He's not just a supporter of the work, he's a champion for the work. And I just want to share with you this morning, kind of give you a glimpse of what we do in Nigeria. I am from the country of Nigeria, but I've been a citizen of this great country for getting close to 20 years. But my heart is still there. And the work we continued is still ongoing. And thanks to you, we're expanding in scope. I chose this particular passage because it has a lot of significance in terms of what we do and the scope of the work. Because each time I go to Nigeria, these days I work full-time for the public schools and part-time for Florida State College. I only get to do the Lord's work full-time during summer, and I spent 7 weeks this summer in Nigeria doing the work. But each time I've gone there, we've brought joy to the people, and we've brought glory to the Lord. And that is really all that I ask for in this life. So, 3 great things I want to share. Number one, the people of southeastern Nigeria are very grateful. It's actually called Ebonyi State, as Brother Esi mentioned. They want me to specifically convey their gratitude for your generosity. And I also want to share with you the impact of our work. I've embedded some video and for some pictures so that you get an idea. I will just offer some explanations. I'm going to allow the pictures and the videos tell the story. And also to continue to ask for your continued support, because it's the work that relies on generosity of others. The people are poor. They are in a remote village. We seem to care more about them than their own government. But, God will prepare us at the end. So, these are the 3 things that we do. We went there to preach the gospel, and Brother Esi and I have been working, but each time we go to preach the gospel, we always have people coming to beg for medical assistance. We have people coming to beg for education. When I talk about people, not just church members, but members of the community who don't share our faith, because whatever we do impacts the life of everyone. We don't discriminate between members of the Lord's church and those who are outside, but we let the love begin with the members of household of God. Therefore, we've ended up running a school and running a clinic/hospital. And our mission is focused on this remote part of the world. There are certain missions that I know of that focus on cities. But ours is really inside the village. I own a 4x4 vehicle that can take me there. Outside of that, it's almost impossible to get there, especially during the rainy season, which is a summer period for us. And we are not just focusing on one congregation. When I was a missionary there, my primary focus was on one congregation. But now we just focus at a region, multiple congregations. And glory is being brought to God and joy to the people. And let me share more as we move on. And this year marks precisely 30 years of this ministry. That was the first time I met Brother Esi in Nigeria, and we got to talking, and the rest is history. But one thing is for certain, if this ministry was not designed by God, it would not have endured for 30 years. Usually, most mission works die when the missionary ceases to be there. It would have ceased to exist when I moved to the U.S. In 2003, but it has continued. As Brother Ese mentions, we've drilled wells when the people were suffering from Guinea worm. We purchased motorcycles and bicycles for the preachers to be able to move around. We've built a church building, which is the central congregation that currently oversees the work locally. And yes, a grade school, and we are running a hospital and much more. And just for, this is where Nigeria is, in the west coast of Africa. I'm sure that most of us know that. But I also want to point out where Ebonyi State is located. Now, we hear a lot of negative stories about Nigeria, especially the Muslim, Islamic terrorism that go on, that involve a lot of killings. We are blessed to be away from there. It impacts primarily in the northeast. Most of the north, those are Muslim areas. But in the south, we are still isolated from the terrorist attack. So our mission is safe because our governors, they are Christians, and practically most of the people are Christians. We don't face the threat other members of the church who live up north face. So we thank God for that. Nigeria, approximately 240 million people. Over half of that population consists of Muslims. And as you can, if you look at these stats, you'll notice that Nigeria presents a lot of opportunity for the gospel. And we don't have specific number of members of the church, but I know that we are less than 1% of these 240 million people. So there is still a lot of work to be done, and that is why we are still there. And this is how we operate, because it's important. One of the things that donor congregations and individuals want to know is this: how am I sure that the money I sent is being spent for what it is intended for? And this is what we do. There is the Arlington eldership. Whatever money that is being given goes to them. Then there's the Central Church of Christ Elders over there in Nigeria, and I know all these men personally. They are the ones who oversee the work there. I am just the link man. Whenever I travel during summer, I take the money, place it in their hand, and they disperse it. And most of the times I'm there to ensure that this project, if we have any specific project, that they get executed before I come back, and then I bring back the good news of what I have witnessed, not what I have heard. Essentially, there's no administrative costs. The money goes directly to these elders. They disperse it. And most importantly, they make sure that the preachers that we support are preaching the sound doctrine. A lot of good and bad have been done to the work in Nigeria as a result of support from the U.S. Because there are some people who've sent money there and they started splitting the church over things like using one cup instead of multiple cups, among other things, but I'm not getting into that. My point, though, is that we are sponsoring men who are preaching the sound gospel. But this year in particular was focused on getting the ambulance to Nigeria. It was quite an undertaking. When it was gifted to us, we were grateful. But then that posed a great question. How do we get it to Nigeria? Not just that, how do we even get it functional? It is a 2001 Freightliner. And if you know anything about old vehicles, you know that the more you start fixing it, the more problems that it creates. So let me just give you an idea. Well, this is the ambulance when it arrived in Nigeria in front of the hospital. I will get back to this. But before we get to this point, let's just have a look. This is what it looked like. Clearly, we are not going to send that to Nigeria because they might think we are selling something that is against the law over there. So, and then we started working on this, stripping it to get to that. And the Lord really blessed us with somebody who cut out a lot of costs because the initial cost was a little on the high side. So from here to this, let me just say that at Arlington, we actually physically stripped the vehicle to this point before sending it out. That was a full Saturday work. Because if you get somebody to strip that down, that was going to cost us thousands of dollars that we didn't have. And then from this to that. And eventually when it was sent, you notice that it screams America. And also at the bottom there, you notice that it's Arlington and Oceanside. That is, our names are there. Wherever the ambulance goes, our names are there. And sometimes people want to know who are these. And then we spend a lot of time explaining to them how the vehicle got to them. And this is the arrival. Now, I know here in the U.S. we are blessed, we live privileged lives, and all it takes is to dial 911, and then you have the ambulance, probably more than one, in front of your homes. I mean, there is nothing like dialing 911 in Nigeria. If you are sick, you have to hire a vehicle to take you to the city, and most of the times you can't even afford that. Or even if you can afford it, there may not be a vehicle taking you that will be able to take you. So it is the people celebrating the arrival of an ambulance. I'm sure that this is unheard of in here as far as you're concerned. If they don't show up on time, you're wondering why. You dialed 911 5 minutes ago, why are they not here? These are the people celebrating the arrival of a vehicle. Speaking of bringing joy to the people. The first day we took it to the village, they all congregated. So I don't need to explain to you. You can see the joy in front of the kids, the women, the elderly couldn't quite make it. The young people are always in front. And of course, the church did their own blessing because it's something unique in the village. This is in a rural part of the country right now without electricity, and this is about the best thing that happened to them in a long time. And so the congregation actually prayed for the ambulance. And the point of this is that this is a big deal. It means a lot to them. As far as they're concerned, that's just a sign that they have not been forgotten, that God still loves them and that God blesses them through you. And yes, the village elders came to me to thank me and asked me to convey their gratitude to you. So did the church elders and the evangelists that we support. And that's essentially why I'm here this morning, to send that gratitude, your collective gratitude to you. Because without you, without the Oceanside congregation, this ambulance will still be parked here today, that's for sure. Because Brother AC and I, we're like, okay, so we have this gift. We sure can't afford to send it over there. What do we do? And God taught us a lesson in faithfulness. Because of you, it's there today, and I'm grateful. These are the elders that oversee the work. I know these men. As a matter of fact, the one in the center used to be one of the preachers that we support. And I think I remember teaching him in the Bible college when I was there a while ago. We have 3 elders, 7 deacons, 543 baptized members, and 227 children as at the time, as of July of this year. It's a huge congregation. And yes, it is. And the church, the great thing about the church in Nigeria is that it's much younger. I come back to the States, I look at Arlington, and I just keep looking around. I'm thinking, man, it's mostly people like me. And last time I checked, I'm not getting younger. We're getting a little older, but the church there is much younger. And that's a great sign. So, the medical, educational, they complement our evangelism. Let's not forget that we are still there primarily to save souls. And then in saving souls, when we're able, we assist with their medical and with their education. And okay, so, and you've been actually sending some money to us. We support 10 evangelists. Remember what I said, that we focus at a region instead of a specific congregation. We have 10 evangelists who preach at 7 different congregations. And yes, we do not really place them on a salary. We just, whatever money we're able to collect, when I go there during summer, that's what we give them, and it serves them. It's not as if we're really paying them salary, but we're just encouraging them to do the work of the Lord, and they are more than appreciative because they will still preach whether they receive help from us or not. So we are impacting 844 souls and 742 children. That's a lot of souls. So whenever you send your money, unless it's specifically directed towards a hospital, we help them to support this evangelist. And I want to put some faces to the, and essentially that's what we do. There's no fixed amount. In Arlington, we pass a plate during a Sunday Bible study, and then whatever is collected is what we sent. Sometimes the elders add some money to it, depending on the budget. And then the individual donations that we get and the congregational support from, like the ones we get from you, that is how we support them. So here are some of their faces. Look, this was the picture I took with them when I was there well, we're still practically in summer. So these are some of the men. I'm just going to go through their faces because so that you have an idea of the people your generosity impacting. And some of them are deacons at the Central Church. But the most important thing is that the elders at the Central Church know them. They know where they preach. And one thing in rural areas is that if you're preaching anything other than the sound doctrine, it will get back to the Central Church, and they will know. So what do the preachers do? Essentially, the work of evangelists: preach, baptize, and continue to teach. And whenever a new congregation is established, it's important to place somebody there who is not a new convert, because I've had instances in the past when missionaries from overseas come and establish congregations and come back and write their reports, and then, lo and behold, you will see a new convert teaching new converts. And then when you go to visit those churches, they are not the church of the Lord that you know. So we ensure that we stick to the Bible by sending these men to these congregations. And then that takes us to the hospital, which essentially is more like what they call a cottage hospital. It's more like a clinic, but is approved by the government to run as a 10-bed hospital, so we call it a hospital. One part-time doctor who is a member of the Lord's Body, he actually teaches, he works full-time for the teaching hospital. 3 health workers who are specifically trained in what's known as community health. Essentially, they can deliver babies and take care of those specific health challenges that are mostly common in the rural area. Of course, we have a security guard because we have some very expensive equipment on the ground and a groundskeeper. And these are the health workers. And what services does the hospital offer? Both outpatient and inpatient care. Well, yeah, malaria is a big challenge over there. When I was there full-time, that was a big problem to me because I became resistant to the most common treatment for malaria, and well, that's a long story. And then there's typhoid, there's accident wounds, there's the care that they provide, and of course there is maternal care, prenatal, delivery and postnatal, and immunization services. But most importantly, they offer free blood pressure and blood sugar checks. One of the things that affected me about 5 years ago, I went there, one of the teachers at the school, I met with him. Then the next day I got a report that he was seriously ill. And then the second day I heard that he died. Turned out that he actually had high blood pressure, did not know that. And by the time they realized it, he's already suffered a severe stroke and never recovered. And that was when I got back. I think I must have called Brother AC. I was emotional for me, and we had to do something to get a hospital started. It was very emotional for me because I had a conversation with him the day before. And my thinking is, if we had free blood pressure and blood sugar check, at least he would have known that his blood pressure level is so high, and then we would have rushed him to the hospital before it was too late. My point, though, is that we are saving lives. Physically, we are also impacting life spiritually. And thank you for making that happen. So far, this is the impact of the hospital. Yes, they do perform surgery. whenever they identify a surgery case that is not major, then they invite a doctor from the teaching hospital to come and perform surgery there. And these are as of July, these are the stats we have from them. And yes, again, here is the ambulance. One of them told me, because when we got to the village, one of them told me, when you passed us on the way, we know that this was from America, and we also know that this was coming to our village. And of course, there's still a big pride about being associated with America. America is still loved over there. And for them, it was a big deal. America is on our side. Our brothers and sisters do care for us. It was really a big deal, psychological boost for them. And for me, too, I'm an American and Nigerian. And it's kind of difficult to be two at the same time, but I am. Now, over here, an ambulance is just, they use it to convey you if you have an emergency and take you to where you receive care. But this ambulance is multi-purpose. Okay, as Brother Essie mentioned, it gets to the hard-to-reach areas. It's a very remote area. When it rains, it's almost impossible, even with a 4x4. So with the ambulance, we can reach very difficult areas. And then, believe this or not, in that ambulance, with that stretcher there, the doctors have assured me that they can actually perform minor surgery in there. Because it's air conditioned. They can perform the surgery in there and then let the patient recover at the clinic. And the PA system is actually, we are using it for open air evangelism. Whenever we pull in there, and there's a lot of people coming, so we have a lot of preachers, and preachers like to preach whenever there's a crowd. They start preaching with it. And it's actually a thing of joy to use one vehicle for multiple purposes. And then here's an idea, because whenever I go, one of the things we do is to go out on a medical mission. This usually involves taking multiple doctors and other healthcare, and we go from village to village. And in that process, usually we attend to between 200, 300, or even 400 patients in a day. It's intense. And usually when the people show up, our preachers and other members of the church are on hand to pass tracts to them. And those of them who have time, they put them aside and teach them the word. While we are attending to their medical needs, we are also attending to their spiritual needs. And this is some of those times. These are the people who are gathered for our medical outreach. So here we are. You get an idea of the interior part of the world that we go into. And here you can see people gathered because I think they were dispensing medication from there, and of course kids were gathered. They had to take care of the kids first. And I believe they were vaccinating some of them. I don't quite remember all that. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm an academic doctor, so I steer clear of the things I don't understand. And here they are, patients waiting to be served by our team of doctors and medical workers. And yes, here they are. And sometimes people actually wait for hours because there's a long line, and as they attend to them, as to when they arrived, except if they're the elderly, they attend to before others so that they can go home. And again, these are people being attended to. Usually when we go on a medical mission, we are in the field by 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning, depending on when we take off, and then we don't really get back until, say, 5 p.m. And by then, everybody's exhausted, but then a lot of lives have been touched. And yes, again, here you see kids lining up. And this happens from village to village. And essentially, this is the presentation. I hope that the pictures and some of the short videos have kind of given you an idea of the good that you're really doing in a remote part of the world that you haven't been to and may never be to. But thank you for all that you do. We want you to intensify your prayers for the work to continue, because whenever something is working well, Satan never rests until he messes it up. We also pray that you continue or to increase your generosity towards the work, both collectively as a congregation or as individuals. Remember, whatever contribution you have goes directly to the Arlington eldership. And then when I travel, we take them to the eldership over there, and your money is used for what it was intended for. Thank you, everyone, for your kind attention. And that is the end of this presentation. Do you have any questions for me?
Chris,
Yes, ma'am.
how many people go out in the ambulance to the villages? Is it, because you have 3 health workers, I'm pretty sure they...
Oh, we have more than, we usually have more than 3 health workers when we are going out on a mission field. We tend to have about 5 or 6 of them. We have the 3 doctors there. As a matter of fact, we just pack the ambulance, as many as can fit in. It's Nigeria, it's Africa, they don't mind getting close to one another, so as many as can fit in, some standing, some sitting, and yeah, there is no capacity limit. Yes, Brother Horn.
The 7 satellite
Congregations.
that you support, are they in different villages or?
Yes.
7 different villages, or where are they located?
Different villages. Let's say it's like Duval County, and they're in different parts of Duval County, yes. Yes, that's how it works. They're in different parts. Some are here on the beach, some in Arlington area, some as far away as Amelia Island, and all the rest of them. So it is actually, they call them local government areas, the same way we call counties here. It's in different parts of the...
Congregations support them financially? What kind of support do you offer them?
They oversee the people, the members, the main congregation. Most of the members that preach there, the preachers are from there. And when we send money to them, that's what they distribute to them. And sometimes they do help them out if they have an emergency, but they themselves struggle too.
Hey, Chris, how do y'all pay? How do the medications and things of that, how's that paid? Does the government fund those, or does that have to be purchased?
We purchase the medication, yes. Unfortunately, the government does not. In the past, they used to get some things like vaccines and other medications from World Health Organization, but that doesn't happen. So essentially, we just buy our own medication.
Where do you buy it from?
Oh, well, there are pharmacies that privately owned pharmacies that we buy it from.
And this comes from all the support that you have to raise
Yes, sir.
from wherever you can.
From wherever we can. Yeah, that's what it is.
Does
They,
that limit y'all quite a bit?
of course, it does. It limits what we're able to do in terms of paying. You know, they pay a token. They're not able to pay for the full cost of care. And it's there in the village. So we treat anyone that comes and give them a certain a bill. Some of them can't even afford to pay it. So we essentially just foot most of the bills, including paying for the health workers.
You mentioned the school. How many children are in the school and all?
With 187 kids. It's a K through 6 school. They wanted to go higher, but I told them we ain't got the money for now. But so let's just stick to what we have, and that's really made a huge difference in the village, as Brother A.C. said. There was a time the government tried to close it down because it was affecting the government-run school. The parents moved their kids to our schools because the difference is clear. But we eventually did win that battle.
One of the things that we found out was when we had the hospital in the village, because people could not pay, they're just too poor to pay. And we're not having to shift our thinking about maybe an additional hospital in the city where you have people of influence who can pay to support the hospital that's in the village. So when we started it, we thought they'd be able to become self-efficient. It's just, they can't happen. They don't have the money to do it. And so we're trying to do something in an area that can give us more influence, that we continue to help the hospital in the village as well.
He's right. If we are located in the city folks can afford to pay. But to move to the city, that requires another huge investment for that to occur. I believe that's the last bell. And thank you for your kind attention, and thank you for the privilege of sharing this information with you. May God continue to bless every one of us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Hey, Chris, one more question. Do y'all have medical missions that come in the summer and different things to help, different congregations from around the United States that come in to assist in things?
Still congregations that send medical missions to Nigeria is a very vast country, yes. But in that part of the world, we don't. The people who actually have medical missions coming from the U.S. are the Catholics. They have people from Johns Hopkins and all the rest of them going over there. We are just a small fry. We're just starting to let our light shine.